It's October 1st! I know it's very subtle. Hi, welcome to Yarn to Table. I'm Celeste and this is a show about my knitting life. If this is your first time watching me, you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Celeste Full, and there is a Ravelry group as well, which you can find the link in the doobly-doo. You can also find it by searching for Yarn to Table in the Ravelry groups tab. So, the group is where you're going to find cals, knit-alongs, and show notes for every episode. And let's just jump into things. I have not had a ton of time to knit today, or this week, but I do have some fun things to share with you. I have two hose or half finished objects. I also have a very exciting stash enhancement segment. I got some new tools, but I also got some new yarn. I managed to snag some very exciting, hard to come by holiday colorways, self-striping holiday colorways from Jinx Yarn. So really excited about that, and I will show them to you a little bit later. And before we get into any of that, let's talk about what I'm wearing. You may have noticed that I have a knit witch's hat on. Didn't get past you, did it? I know it's very subtle. So take it off and show this to you guys. This hat, I don't remember the designer, but I will have it in the show notes at the Yarn to Table group, which again is linked down below here on YouTube. But it was a pattern for a kid's hat, and then it had an adult version, and there's like a sort of thicker plastic that you cut out that goes inside this brim, and then the rest of it is just loose and just simple decreases to the top. I made this last year and I pretty much wore it like around the house all the time during October, and let's be honest, a little bit after that. And I have not worn it in a while because I've been, attempting to conduct myself like a slightly reasonable adult person. But it's October 1st! So, and this is a channel about knitting, so it feels like a really good excuse. Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm not going to wear this for the rest of the day, because I definitely am. But I adore this hat. So, I made it out of Knit Picks Swish worsted, which is just like very simple, affordable worsted weight wool. And it's soft, it's relatively warm. It is just really comfy. Like, even though it has this brim, the brim is kind of small and it's out of this fairly flexible plastic. So, like, I've slept in this hat before. I've gone to sleep in this hat. I don't know how to explain why, other than I love this hat, and when I wear it all October, it just makes me feel good. And sometimes I don't want to take it off, so I just get into bed with it, kind of as a joke for my husband, and then I just fell asleep. And it was fine. It was comfortable. I mean, it just flapped down at the back, like, it just flaps down, you lie on your side, like, it's amazing how comfortable this hat is. So I absolutely love this. I did wear it last year with a black dress to the office on Halloween as like my costume, but that wasn't really why I made it. I just did that because that was convenient and I didn't have anything else to wear. I made it because I wanted a knit witch hat that I could wear at home around the house in the fall, which I will probably do every year until I die. So looking forward to embarrassing my children with that one. Yeah, so I adore this, and I'm thinking it's probably going to make an appearance throughout Vlogtober, and probably here on the podcast as well in the near future. Possibly every episode in October. We'll see. So I should also note that my computer is dying, so I'm going to be going without show notes to prompt me, but I think I can get through it. It's the same format as always, but if I come up against something and I don't remember something exactly or whatever, that's why. Sorry, you guys. But there are show notes on the group on Ravelry, so check them out. And that brings me to finished objects. So I do have 2 hose this week. Hose, if you don't know, are half objects. Ooh, ding. And I have 2. I'll just show you both of them since they're both socks. Pretty exciting stuff. Okay, let's talk about them one by one. This is my first Pop-Tarts and coffee sock. This was made with an exclusive one of a time. I don't know why I'm so spacey today. Exclusive, one time only, Homespun House Gilmore Girls inspired sock set. Came with an adorable progress keeper as well, which you have seen as it's been a work in progress, and you will see again, so I'm not going to try to pull that out. But the main color is called the Pop-Tart Dilemma, and the contrast is called Coffee, Coffee, Coffee. And as I said, this was a one-time only, so unfortunately, unless you find somebody who bought it and wants to trade, you're not going to find this exact thing. But she is doing now 3-month-long Gilmore Girls sets. So she's in the middle of one right now. She'll probably do another if that's something that you are interested in. And I knit these exclusively while I was recording my audio podcast, Return to Stars Hollow. As I've mentioned before, I kind of wanted a little treat for myself while I was doing that to make it something that I looked forward to every week. Anyway, I did this with a 3x1 rib around the entire cuff. And then for the foot, I kept the rib on the top and I did stockinette on the bottom. And I did a regular Kitchener toe and a slip stitch heel flap and gusset. And for the heel flap, I really just eyeball my heel flaps on my first sock, and then on the second one, I'll count the stitches. Which is mostly just because I haven't ever at any point memorized how many stitches I like, as I have with the rest of the foot, because I don't usually use heel flaps. I actually have a heel flap on both of these, which is unusual. I do a lot of fish lips kiss heels. But for different reasons I wanted to do heel flaps on these. So anyway, I haven't really memorized how many rows I like my heel flaps to be, so I usually just eyeball it. And it usually turns out to be about 1 3/4 inches. But I don't typically measure. I don't typically have anything to measure with me when I'm knitting the heel flap. So, I should probably just count the rows and memorize that at some time so that I can be more consistent. And I could actually do them a little longer. I think I could go more for a 2-incher. But this is just how both of these I knit separately and without measuring and without counting the rows. And then I measured them later, and both heel flaps were exactly 1 3/4 inches. So I just thought that was interesting. Anyway, I chose a heel flap and gusset on this one because I really wanted to show off the contrast color, and I really like the way it looks in a heel flap. And I wasn't really in any kind of rush because these were my podcast only socks, my Return to Stars Hollow only socks. So really I just wanted to savor them. Now they do have a slightly shorter leg than I typically do, and obviously I could have done a longer leg and savored them even more, but I with the ribbing, I really liked the look of it being a little shorter, so that was just the call I made at the time. And then of course I did just this tiny little bit of contrast on the top. That is the cast on row and then 2 more rows. And I think that looks really nice with the full ribbing. I just think that's a cute little addition. And let's see. Oh, and I started my contrasting about 5 rows, I think, before the decreases started on the toe. I will usually start the contrast stitching before the decreases start because I like the contrast toe to be a little bit larger than just the decrease portion. Just because I think when it's on my foot, it looks really nice if the contrasting comes all the way down to the base of my toes. So that's what I usually do. So yeah, this was a lot of fun. I think it looks really cute. The ribbing helps it hug my foot and fit really nice. Yeah, and I have not started the next one yet, but I will the next time we record, which will be not this week, but the week after that, because my co-host Cordia is out of town, so we're taking another week off. That schedule's been really erratic lately, but yeah, so anyway, so you'll be seeing these again in a few weeks when I start up on the other one. And then this is my candy apple sock, which is my sort of themed September sock, although it's now pushing into October because I've only got one done. I didn't start them until halfway through September, so. Anyway, this is also a sock set. This is by Nora George Yarns, and it is spectacular. They don't have, she didn't give separate color names for the main and the contrast, just the entire sock set together was called Candy Apple, I believe. And that's a regular in her shop. It's not any kind of special one-time only, so if you are a fan of hers, just keep an eye out and, you know, or maybe ask her about it. So the way I did this was a 1x1, I think for about 10 rows, twisted rib. And then I did this little bit of stranded to fade in, which I've talked about in the past. I did a 2-color heel, which gives it that nice sort of similar kind of watercolor fadey effect, especially because the speckling has some of the green, so it's not as contrasty in the 2-color heel as it would be if you had like a solid black and white. It gives it just more of this like light, little translucent green kind of color washed look. And then I did the same concept here where I did stranded leading into the toe. And I did that so that the toe, the solid would start at the decreases and the stranded started 5 rows before. So I did 5 rows of stranded here and 5 rows of stranded here. Solid toe, solid cuff, solid heel turn, and then 2-color heel flap. And I talked about how I did the 2-color heel flap, I think in the episode previous to this. And this is my standard length, so as you can see, it's, I'll just hold them together, yeah. So it's a good 2.5 inches taller. And I do all of my measuring with rows, not with inches, because I can actually count rows. I don't have to have tape measure with me. And I also find that it's more consistent because you don't have to worry about stretching. So what I typically do is about 65 rows before the heel, and then a 65 row foot before the decrease. Now obviously the foot shape is the only one that really needs to be exact. I could do this more or less if I wanted, but lately I've been enjoying having the cuff and the foot equal length on most of my socks. Obviously this was the exception. As I said, I just kind of like the way the ribbing looked shorter, but that's what I do typically. What to say about this? So it has a little bit of gaping here and on the other side. That's my, you know, when you pick up for the gusset, you always pick up that extra stitch in the corner, and I always twist it. You can probably see that it's been twisted there to try to keep it from being so visible, but for some reason it still is, and I have to figure that out. Figure out exactly what I'm doing there. I don't know. Sometimes mistakes like this just end up correcting themselves with me, and I don't ever figure out what it was I was doing. It's like here, I talked about this, how when I picked up for this gusset, on this side it was nice and clean, but on this side it kind of pulled open these stitches a little bit. And I wanted to figure out what was going on with that. Well, then I knit this heel flap and gusset right after that, and I just didn't have that problem. It's just fine. It looks exactly the same on both sides. Nothing pulled, anything. So I just don't know. And I don't know. I know this is a problem that a lot of people have, and I hear various different things to do about it. You know, try knitting into the stitch beneath it or try twisting it. I feel like I've kind of tried all of those things and it still sort of does it. So at a certain point, I don't know. The one thing I haven't tried is knitting two together where you pick up there. And I think that might be what I need to do. Maybe I will try that next. But it doesn't bother me a ton to have that there, to be honest. I don't like big ladders all the way down your whole sock, but just a tiny little bit of a flaw in your gusset, I feel like is pretty common. Here's another issue with this that is a little annoying to me. You can see looser stitches here and here. And the reason for that is that I tried to knit this stranded as loosely as I could, because as I mentioned before, I had some issues with it not stretching as much as I wanted it to. So I really tried to stay loose with it. And because of that, it just sort of set me up to be a little bit loose when I was coming in to do my decreases at the edges. It's hard to knit loose when you're knitting a sock in Magic Loop because you're trying to like keep that ladder from happening, and so you're trying to pull sock tension. Like the way that you want to keep from any of these gaps happening and laddering and all of that is to keep your tension as tight as possible. And so I couldn't really do that and also knit the stranded as loose as I could to make sure it was stretching. You can only really do one of those things, really tight tension or really loose tension. You can't, there's no real good compromise. So yeah, so it did result in it kind of gapping a tiny bit there. And I wonder if what I should have done is just worried about making this one looser and not really worrying about it for the toe, since the toe actually doesn't have to stretch that much. It's not like it has to get over your heel like the cuff does. So, you know, I don't really know. But maybe I'll do that on the second cuff, or on the second sock, is I will try to knit the stranded at the cuff looser, but not worry about it for the toe. I just don't know. But anyway, I'm sorry that, like, I feel like sometimes when you show someone a project, it's like just a list of all the things that went wrong. Like, here was this mistake and here was something that wasn't exactly how I wanted it. And that's sort of silly because, like, who cares? And also, like, there's other things to talk about. But I guess I feel like I've sort of talked about everything else to do with this sock already and how much I love this yarn and everything. So I kind of just, I wanted to share with you guys my struggles with some of the stranded work on it, just because that's the thing that's new and different and challenging about this sock, and where I was kind of like doing something new and kind of winging it a little bit. So if you guys are inspired by that and you want to try it, I'm just kind of talking you through my challenges with it, I guess. So anyway, those are my hose. For whips, I did cast on the next candy apple sock in my lovely home row bag. I haven't cast on the next Pop-Tart sock, as I mentioned. But I did just barely, I mean, I haven't even started barely, but I did just get this much going. So there we have that. Pretty much nothing else to say about it. Just wanted to show you that I am pushing full steam ahead on my second sock there. And then last night I picked up the Marled Magic again, which lives in my ginormous Gasly's bag that I made for myself, because it has so many cakes of yarn in here. Not because the project is particularly that big. I mean, it's pretty big, but anyway, I have one more section on this and then the I-cord bind off. And I went ahead and just started that section last night. It's just from the pink up. This is actually the front side. So it's another seed stitch pattern. I'm going to be doing it with this same sort of marl concept that I did the other seed stitch with, where I think he called it a fading marl. So you sort of like have two and then you switch one out for the next and then the other one out for the next one to kind of give it this slow fade. Now I'm using a lot of the same yarns that I used here, but I don't want it to look like an exact copy of this section. So to a certain extent I'm trying to use them differently. So I'm using them in like a slightly different order. Some of them that I used on the first one I'm not using on this one, and then I'm also trying to like hold on to them for longer portions before I switch out so that it'll kind of like make the fade happen more slowly, and then using fewer yarns. So it's going to be very similar to this section, but I want it to be its own thing at the same time. So anyway, that's my last section, section 6. I'm omitting 7 and 8 because I don't think they bring a ton to the party. They're just pretty simple sections, and I don't think they're really necessary. It's quite big on its own. I don't know. So I am eliminating those, which is suggested in the pattern for like a medium size. Like he says, they're optional. I know so a lot of people do them, a lot of people don't. A lot of people do one and not the other. So it's, anyway, so this is my last section because I'm just doing through section 6. Then I'll have an I-cord bind off. The other thing I wanted to say about this, right, was that, so I have all these ends here that you leave out so that you can braid them into something and then it becomes like a tassel. And I realized at some point that he said leave them until they hang 8 to 10 inches past the bottom, meaning hang all the way to the bottom and then 8 to 10 inches past the bottom. And I cut them where they were just like 8 to 10 inches. I mean, a little longer, but I cut them too short. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in once I'm ready to do that braid and tassel, and I'm going to cut additional strips of yarn for each one and magic knot them to make it longer, which is like kind of a pain, and I wish I had just done it right in the first place. But I think it's better than giving up and weaving in these ends and not getting to have the cool braid effect. I like the braid effect and I don't want to weave in these ends. So I don't mind going through and magic knotting, and I'll be fine. I mean, I screwed up this whole thing in so many ways. I had them on the wrong side, so then I had to flip the whole thing over, and just like, I love the concept of leaving out these ends, but I feel like I screwed it up in all the ways you could screw it up. Like, I definitely Murphy's Law'd the heck out of this thing. So what are you gonna do? It's all working out in the end. I'm finding good fixes for everything, so I'm not particularly annoyed. Anyway, just to give you a bigger sense of this, if you haven't seen it or you haven't seen it in a while, here's one tip. This is the brioche section that in the pattern is 1 color brioche, but I altered it for 2 color because I love it. And then you have the seed stitch section. Here you have the garter section, your eyelet section. That's going to be a braid with a tassel. This is going to be sort of the point in the center of the shawl. And then you have this big pop of color, and this is going to continue on until it gets to a point, and that'll be the other end of the shawl. And that's going to be entirely in this one section, seed stitch, as I said, but at the point I am going to start incorporating mohair because I like the idea of mohair being on all these different little pops. So I have mohair on this end, I'll have mohair on the other end, as I said, and then I have a pop of mohair for this dark section and for this hot pink section. So I really like that the seed stitches and the eyelet are without mohair, and then in between you have these little pops of mohair. So yeah, that's my concept here. I did go through all of these yarns. If you're interested, they are all listed on the project page. I also went through them back in the first episode where I introduced this project, which you can find if you go to the project page and click the blogs tab, my project page for this on Ravelry. it'll give you a list of all of the episodes of Yarn to Table where I showed this, and so you can just go back to the earliest one, and I will tell you in that, I'll tell you in all of those what colors I'm using in each of these sections and the whole thing. But my concept for this is Harry Potter, so it is all Harry Potter yarn. I had a bunch of Nora George and a bunch of A Homespun House from her Harry Potter club, and I really liked the idea of putting them all together in a big project, and what could be better than Marled Magic. So this is my lovely big Harry Potter shawl, and it's almost done, which is very exciting. Oh, and I don't think I mentioned, but I am knitting this for the knit along that Kristen of Wool and Vine Yarns and the Yarngasm podcast is co-hosting with Laura of Jinx Yarns and the Dyer's Notebook podcast. So that is running through October, the end of October. So if you're wanting to knit a Marled Magic, there is still time to get in on that knit along. Sorry that the lighting is kind of all over the place, you guys. I'm dealing with kind of starting to lose the light in here. I usually record earlier in the day, but Ryan's been home, and so we've been spending a lot of time together, and so it's a little bit later, so now I just have kind of crazy erratic light. So sorry about that. I don't have like a nice official, you know, like artificial light setup. I just always use natural light, and I record based on when I can use natural light. So sometimes I don't have the most control over it, and that's unfortunate, but thanks for bearing with me. Anyway, I have one more whip, and this whip is my Ebba, which is a sweater by, see, this is why I need my show notes, by Diana Walla for Quince & Co. So it's a colorwork sweater. It is going to look like this, but I'm doing the main color in black and then white for the stranded work, and the pops are still going to be in red. This is my first colorwork sweater. It is going to involve steeking, even though it's not a cardigan. There's actually steeking for the sleeves. So you knit this as a whole tube, and then you steek right here and add the sleeve. Which is going to be fun. And I've just been working on it here and there this week. Like I said, I didn't get as much knitting done this week as I would have liked. But I have made it about 20% of the way through the sweater based on yarn use. And here's what it looks like. This much. So this is, sorry, my yarn is like, okay. So this is a sport weight. I'm using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes non-superwash sport weight. It's a sport weight, and I'm knitting it at a very tight gauge. I'm using US size 4, which are 3.5 millimeter needles. And these are my ChowGoo interchangeable small red lace cables, which is basically what I use for everything. That's why I never mention what needle I'm using. It's always these. So that's a really tight gauge. The pavement sweater, which I still haven't cast on, but I swear I'm about to, I will be using a larger needle, even though it's a fingering weight, which is a lighter weight yarn than sport. So I'm using a heavier weight here and yet a smaller needle, just because the gauge that you want for color work is just a lot tighter, and the pavement is sort of a looser gauge sweater. So anyway, I have this nice little Tilting Planet Progress Keeper on there that I love, little fluff ball. It's kind of sparkly, very lightweight. And then I have my lovely little hexagon stitch markers, which I forget who they're from, but it's someone on Etsy, and I've said who it was before, and if you just search for hexagon stitch markers, she'll come up. Anyway, So I did my tubular cast on, which was an alteration. They didn't call for that in the pattern. And then it's so hard to see on with this being black, but the ribbon goes up to about here. Sorry for all the cat hair also. Ribbon goes up to about here, and then the rest of this is stockinette. I am almost through the waist shaping decreases, and then I will do waist shaping increases to give you an idea of where I am on the progress here. So I'm basically almost to where my natural waist will be. Yeah, and I'm excited about this sweater. Obviously, it's not looking like much yet, but I think it is going to be really, really cool and fun to wear. I think I'm going to wear it a ton, actually. So, yeah. So, moving right along for On the Horizon. As I mentioned, I'm going to cast on the pavement soon. I've already swatched and everything. Just haven't had a ton of time to knit this week, as I said. But another thing I want to start soon is going to be with these lovely yarns. These are both from Molly's local yarn club that she did earlier this year for Homespun House. So these are all non-superwash, beautiful, local to her yarns, and it was a 3-month club. I already used the first one in my meandering shawl, and I'm going to use these together, although it won't use up both of them because it's just a hat, but I'm going to use them together for the vintage prim hat, which is an Andrea Mowry really cool 2-color brioche and garter stitch hat with sort of an antler cable, but in brioche. And I think it's going to look really gorgeous with these. It's totally reversible. I love the way 2-color brioche looks with a semi-solid or solid and a speckled or variegated next to it. So this is just going to be really lovely and yummy. And then who knows what I will do with the remaining things from this, from these yarns. But I did want to use them together on something really special because I think they look really nice together. This one is called Harvest and Care, and this one is called Afternoon Breeze. But they were a sort of one-time only club thing that she did. So I don't know if she's planning on doing it again in the future, but it will probably be different colorways if she does. So, time for stash enhancement. Let me show you my tools first. As I mentioned, for a long time, I've been needing to get another sock needle so that I can stop using the Hiya Sharp, which I really hate. So I got another one. This is a Chalgu red lace or twist or whatever the heck they call them. It's Chalgu. It is US 1 or 2.25 millimeter and 32 inch. This is how I like to knit my socks. Magic loop with one of these babies, and I have another one, but 2 is good because I will often have 2 socks going like I do with these guys. And I don't like having to knit one of them on the Hiya Sharps. So now that I have this, which I actually did finish the Pop-Tarts and Coffee sock on this baby, now I can get rid of the Hiya Sharps. So that will maybe be coming to one of you lovely viewers in a giveaway in the future because I'd like to pass it on to somebody who would appreciate it. It's not that it's a bad needle. It's barely been used and lots of people absolutely love it. It's just not for me. So I'm sure there's somebody, probably lots of you out there, that would be happy to have it. So I will probably be passing that along at some future date. And then I also ordered an extra needle and extra tips for my interchangeable set. So earlier I ordered a second pair of US 4s, and I've just got another pair of US 6s, which is a 4 millimeter, just because I found myself, like recently, knitting back-to-back projects that needed the same size needle, and in some cases having to swap the needles out, unscrewing them, or having to wait and not be able to cast on something I wanted to cast on because I needed to finish something else. So I find that these in the US 4s are really in demand, and why not just grab an extra pair so that you can sort of erase that hassle. It doesn't take up any space at all. It just goes in my interchangeable needle case, and I don't have to worry about it. And then I grabbed another cable as well, because I also recently have been starved for cables and not having cables, and I needed another sort of medium length cable. This is a 37-inch. Kind of chose that pretty randomly. It could have been a 40, it could have been whatever. I just needed something else kind of in the middle. And then while I was at it, I grabbed these on Amazon. So while I was at it, I also grabbed, because these were coming up, some stitch holders, which I had some of these before and I got rid of them because I just had like a couple of them and they were always the wrong size. Like I never really had the right ones. These came in a pack with like a few of each size for like no money. And I just thought that would be really nice to have to put a project on that's hibernating, or you know, like with the Marled Magic, I'm having to use up a lot of my cables to hold stitches for later, you know, hence needing more cables. And this is also a solution for that when you need to keep stitches live, which comes up a lot in sweaters as well, and I'm knitting more sweaters now, so I just think this would be a nice, convenient thing to have. So I grabbed those. And now the yarn. So if you are a fan of Jinx yarn, you know that her big thing that like she does is self-striping. She does amazing indie dyed self-striping colorways. She was kind of one of the first to do like the self-striping with like speckling and cool stuff like that. And she always has a new one for the holidays and repeats her old holiday colorways, and they've become kind of iconic with people and very difficult to get your hands on. So I have wanted Gingerbread House, which is one of them, for a long time. I've also really wanted Jack and Sally, which is a Halloween and Christmas seasonal. And then recently I also fell in love with another seasonal she has called Christmas Lights. So I wanted to try to get Gingerbread House a couple weeks ago, and then I had like my alarm set and everything, and I was all I refreshed the page and I was like right there when she posted them, and but I got cart jacked, which if you don't know is basically just like on Etsy it'll say something's in your cart but it doesn't actually hold it for you. So if somebody else can check out faster, then when you try to check out it'll say like, sorry, it's, oops, I just hit my tea. It'll say like, sorry, it's gone, or bad. So that happened, and I was like, wow, I was trying to be really fast, and it's still like there's just a million people out there that are wanting gingerbread. I think it's Gingerbread House actually. Anyway, it's like in demand, and she basically puts it in her updates, in like every single update from September through the end of the year, and it's still like not enough. Like she just can't die enough for people. So the next week I saw that the update was going to have Gingerbread House, Jack and Sally, and Christmas Lights, which were all the ones that I wanted. And I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Because like I want to make sure that I get Gingerbread House, but obviously I would also like to order all three of them, and I don't want to get cart jacked, and like I can't do three things at once. So what I did was I sort of copied, like copy paste, I like copied my PayPal password so that I could sign in really fast. I don't have it automatically signed in or remember it, just for security reasons, so I always have to type it in. So I had it copied to my clipboard so that I could do that really fast. And I was there when it, you know, when she updated the feed. I got Gingerbread House immediately, and I like signed into PayPal and it went through, and I was like, oh my God. And then somehow, by some miracle, I then also was able to get Jack and Sally and Christmas Lights. I went with Gingerbread House first because I knew it would be the hardest to get, and then somehow the other ones had not been like wiped clean in the 5 seconds that it took me. So, and this all probably sounds completely insane. If you are a big fan of a really popular indie dyer, though, you know this is just sort of par for the course. This is how you do it. So anyway, all this to say that I got all three of them, you guys. Oh my gosh, and they are amazing. So let me show them to you. This is the white whale Gingerbread House. yeah, house. This is on her strong sock, which is an 80/20. And the stripe pattern is 8 rows of brown, 8 rows of undyed, and then 8 rows of this pink variegated. And I'm going to do this with contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs with some knit pixtrol that I have that's in a bright bubblegum pink color that you've seen on here before. And it's going to be really, really cute. So those are like my big deal Christmas socks this year. I'm definitely going to do more than one pair of Christmas socks this year, but those are my, so excited. Okay, next is Jack and Sally. This is on the same base, and the stripe pattern here is 4 rows of black, 4 of undyed, 4 of black, 4 of blue with speckles, 4 of reddish brown, and then 4 of blue with speckles. So essentially you have like black surrounding a white, and then you have blue with speckles surrounding a reddish brown stripe. And it's really pretty. You can see the striping pattern on projects on Ravelry. But this is Nightmare Before Christmas inspired. And it's, you know, the colors are like what the characters Jack and Sally wear. And I just think the colors look so beautiful together. And I think I'm actually going to do contrasting heels, toes, and cuffs with a pumpkin colored yarn that I have in my stash, which I think is going to look really nice with this. So yeah, that's my plan. And then the last one is Christmas Lights. Same base. And this one is 3 rows of red, 3 rows of variegated. And the variegated sort of looks like Christmas lights. And the red is nice and Christmassy. And this one, I'm probably going to do an afterthought heel and just keep that stripy bullseye thing going. I think that's my plan, because I don't have anything already in my stash that jumps out at me for this. I kind of thought it would be cute with, I hesitate to even show you because I feel like I'm not going to do it now because I've decided I want to use it completely up in this shawl. But I'll just show it to you to show you my thought process. So this is a colorway called Weasley is Our King, which was a Harry Potter Club colorway from Homespun House. And I actually thought that would be a cute contrast. And I do still think it would, but I don't think it's the most Christmassy way to go. And I kind of just want these to scream Christmas. And I also wanted more of that in my final section. So I'm just going to use it until it's gone. So anyway, I don't know if all 3 of these are going to become Christmas socks this year or not. They probably will. But what I'm thinking is that Jack and Sally is going to be on the needles real soon, being that it's Halloween and Christmas. And then when we get a little bit closer to Christmas, I'm going to break out the gingerbread house. So very, very excited. Very, very excited about those. And thank you, Laura, for just dyeing such amazing, beautiful, inspiring yarn. We love it. So yeah, I'm very grateful to have been able to snag those. I'm feeling incredibly lucky, to be honest. Okay, I don't have my show notes, so I'm trying to think. I guess all we have left is chit chat. So let me work on my socks. I haven't actually knit through chit chat in a while, have I? But I'm going to now. Let's see here. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about Vlogtober. So I enjoy vlogging a lot and I enjoy watching vlogs, but I know that some people who aren't that into it might feel like it's kind of clogging up the works, you know, like too many videos in your feed that are something that you're not going to watch. That's why a lot of the bigger YouTubers will have whole separate vlogging channels that people can subscribe to, so that just the people that are interested in vlogging will subscribe. And so anyway, I didn't want to overwhelm you guys with too many videos in the feed if you weren't into it. So I kind of, I sent around a survey for you guys to take, and thank you to everyone who took it so much. I really appreciate that. And everybody said they wanted Vlogtober, but the other question I asked was what format it should take. I was thinking I could do the traditional shorter daily vlogs, I could do longer weekly vlogs, or I could do the weekend vlogs, which I did for Vlogust. And people were pretty much split down the middle on those. It was like split 3 ways. So I appreciate so much your feedback, you guys, and the encouragement that saying that you want to see Vlogtober. And I appreciate your feedback on the format, although, of course, it doesn't really help me since you guys are totally split on it. So I still kind of haven't decided, which is crazy because it's October 1st, and I've already been videoing for Vlogtober, but I'm a little concerned that, let me scoot back so you can actually see me knitting. Maybe that would be better. Yeah, okay. So I'm a little bit concerned that, sorry, this twisted rib is like, I have to actually look at it. I'm a little concerned that my daily routine when I'm going to work won't provide enough interesting stuff. And if that's the case, I don't want to just be uploading 5 videos every week from work days where it's just me being like, I'm driving to work. Okay, I'm coming home from work. Okay, I'm knitting. Like, that's not the best. So I think what I might do is kind of a mix. Like maybe I will take video every day, and then if I have enough that's interesting, I will post it the next day, and if I don't, I'll just continue to take video, and so maybe some of the posts will be like a few days in a row, and maybe I just need to kind of let myself be okay with that, okay with the fact that it might just be a little bit on the fly, which is not typically how I do things, if you know me. So yeah, that might be what I do. For Vlogmas, which I also want to do, I definitely want to do it daily because there's something really, really nice about that kind of like Advent aspect, and everyone's counting down the days, and you know, taking a peek into each other's lives during the holidays is like so nice. But you know, I think I just think I might, like, my daily life might actually be more interesting then, and it could actually support daily vlogs, and it might support daily vlogs throughout Vlogtober. I might just be worried for nothing, but it might not. So I kind of guess I just need to let myself go a little bit more with the flow, and I guess that's what I'm going to be doing. So that's my sort of Vlogtober announcement. Thank you, as I said, everybody, for letting me know you were interested and giving me your feedback. And there should be a vlog from today, the 1st, posting the same day as this, which will be Monday the 2nd. And yeah, and then hopefully most days after. And if you are someone who's not into seeing the vlogging, or you just don't have time to watch it, I hope you don't mind too much, you know, that other people do want to see it, and I'm interested in sharing it. So I really hope it's not too much of a pain for you guys, and that you'll stick with me, and just let me let you know that I completely value every single person in my audience, including the ones that aren't interested or don't have time to watch the vlogs. And so if you do feel like it's cluttering up your feed, I do apologize for that. This is sort of like, just know that I recognize that, and I value you as well. And I really hope that it doesn't cause you to unsubscribe, because like, I do want you in my audience also, and I appreciate that you are having to sort of like sort through the vlogs to find the podcast. So just let me let you know that I appreciate that you're doing that. I appreciate you sticking with me, and it's totally cool if you're not into the vlogs. It's cool, like, you can watch however much of this that you like, and I appreciate all of it. So yeah, I kind of just want to let you guys know that whether you're into watching the vlogs or not, you are still a very valued member of my audience, and I appreciate you guys. You guys are like, Jesus, Celeste, it's just Vlogtober, like, chill out. I'm not a very chill person. I don't know if you've noticed that about me. I am kind of uptight, so this is how I am about things. Sorry, y'all. Okay, so that's Vlogtober. You know, I would tell you what I did today, but I guess you'll just have to watch the video to find out. And this week was really just pretty much busy, and the only interesting part of it before the weekend was on Friday, actually. I had a movie night with some other women at my office, which was really fun. We watched What We Do in the Shadows, which is a comedy but Halloween-y because it's a mockumentary about vampires. And then we watched a horror movie, which was It Follows. And I had seen both of them before. I liked them a lot. And there were about like 10 of us, and we had face masks and wine and pumpkin flavored things and watching Halloween movies and just chilling out together. It was really, really a lovely time. So we all were like wearing our pajamas, even though it wasn't a sleepover because, you know, we're adults. I mean, I'm sure some adults have sleepovers, and if you do, that's totally cool. But yeah, we all kind of would prefer to go home and sleep in our own beds at this age. But we certainly weren't going to sit there in jeans and bras because that's not fun. What kind of movie night is that? So yeah, it had that like sleepover vibe to it, which was really enjoyable and nice. And I don't know, there's something about October, it just makes you want to watch movies and spend time with people inside and just get cozy. So there was definitely a lot of that happening. And let's see. Well, I will say one thing, because this isn't in the vlog because I didn't get footage, but we just went for a walk before this, and I got some footage from the walk. But what I didn't get footage of, and won't be mentioned, is that I met this adorable little kitty. There's a bunch of different cats in our neighborhood. Some of them are feral, some of them are strays, some of them are sort of neighborhood cats, like they don't really have a home, but various different people take care of them. And some of them are people's indoor-outdoor cats that are just chilling, I assume, although they don't have collars. This is kind of hard to know. But this kitty I had not met before. We know a lot of the cats, and Ryan feeds a lot of the ones that are hungry. So we're kind of turning into like that cat house, which I didn't really want to be, but it's happening. So anyway. But we met this new kitty. She was really little, like probably only a year old, and she was a black tabby, which the cat that I grew up with that I just love so much was a black tabby. And she was also incredibly, incredibly affectionate, which my black tabby that I grew up with was one of the most affectionate cats I've ever met. So she really reminded me of her. And she just like, she wanted to be picked up. She was so into me. She was like nuzzling her neck into me and making biscuits and licking me all over and just like snuggling up. Like she just wanted to be held, and she was like wrapped around me and just wanted me to hold her like a little baby. And we stayed there and just pet on her and cuddled her for like a long time. And I was like, as I said, you can't really tell what cats are strays and what cats are block cats and what cats have a home, but they're just outdoors right now. So I didn't really know, and I kind of completely fell in love with her. But we have a kitty cat, and we're not looking to bring anybody else home because, you know, it would probably be pretty upsetting to him. So I was like, oh my God, I can't deal with this. This cat is so sweet and she loves me, and like I want to take her home with me, but I can't. So finally we decided to see if she would follow us, if she wanted to follow us. And that way we would know if she didn't, that she probably had people taking care of her. And you know, she was staying on that block because either her home was there or the whole block was kind of her home. And so we did that, and she followed us for a few houses, but then she sort of like stopped and was like, hey, I have to stay here. So we said goodbye, which made me feel good because it meant that, you know, if I can't give her a home, like I want to know that she has a home. So that made me feel a little bit better. But if she hadn't stayed there, we were going to just sort of like see if she wanted to hang out on our porch. And maybe, because we have some cats in this area that are like on our porch a lot. They kind of feel like they live here, but they don't come inside. And we thought maybe that would be like a first step to see if August could get to know her a little bit, like through the window, and kind of like test that boundary. But, you know, but luckily it looks like she already does have a home. So that's good because she's a sweetie and she's just like really affectionate. So anyway, that was a highlight because it was like, it's really fun to meet a new kitty and get to know them and have them be all affectionate with you. But it was also like totally pulling at my heartstrings because like, I just wish that I could give a home to every cat in the world, and I can't. I have to have boundaries for myself and for my own kitty cat who lives here, and just for a million reasons. I can't adopt all the cats in the world, and I wish that I could. So, yeah. So that's pretty much what's going on with us. Like I said, Vlogtober will be out today, probably. It's probably already up. And I hope you guys enjoyed those. There was a lot of cool stuff going on today that I got to capture on there. I show you the pumpkin patch we have in our backyard, and I make homemade pesto with basil from our garden, and we go on a little neighborhood walk. We passed 3 different little free libraries which are really near our house, so I got footage of all of them. Yeah, so anyway, eat. I'm gonna scoot back up. Anyway, that's the show for this week. With Vlogtober going on, and with, you know, trying to spend as much time as I can with Ryan, it is possible that for this month I will not be on a completely weekly schedule. It's going to depend a little bit on what's going on each weekend, so I can't just 100% say like I'll be back in 2 weeks or I'll be back next week. But I just want to let you guys know, if I don't show up here with the podcast on Monday, it just means that I didn't quite have the time because of other stuff I was doing over the weekend. I also have a lot of homework that's going to be coming up this month as well. So anyway, just know that it might get a little irregular for a while, but there's going to be vlogs as well, and I'll also let you know on the vlogs like that there isn't going to be a podcast that week, or else there will be a podcast that week. So I definitely am not going to just disappear from the podcast for the month. You know, I'll probably be back in a week or 2. I just don't know if it's going to be 1 or 2. So that's what's going on, and I will be wearing this hat still, probably. So anyway, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate y'all so much, and I hope you enjoy the vlogs, and I hope you are enjoying October wherever you are, whether it's a lovely beginning of fall or the warm beginning of spring if you're in the southern hemisphere. I think we all love the changing of the seasons, and I hope you are having a magical time spending some time in nature and knitting up nitty goodness when you come home and have your cozy evenings at home. So I will see you guys around. Thank you for watching.